Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another webinar from GeoSolutions. And today we are going to talk about MapStore. I hope you can see my screen properly. And we have exciting topic today about the status of MapStore. And for those of you that are not aware of what MapStore is, we're going to provide a good introduction, and maybe this will allow you to explore the future opportunities about using MapStore in your organization. So for those of you that don't know about GeoSolutions, hold on a second, I have something here. We were founded in 2006, originally in Italy, and we have offices in the US since 2020 January. And we offer, we support various products, but in particular GeoServer, MapStore, GeoNode, and GeoNetwork, and all the other tools that are around these products. For example, like GeoWebcache and others. And our offer, we provide enterprise support services. So if you want to improve the performance that you have or tweak your application, we are here to help you. Deployment subscription to guarantee that your application, for example, on the cloud is behaving properly. We customize solutions and we do professional training around the world. Today, of course, we're doing it virtually. We have about 200 clients around the world, from organizations, worldwide organizations, to governments, to private sector. And we have a lot of experience in different domains that allow us to really understand a lot of different requirements and make the tools be able to behave in these different domains. We strongly support open source, and that's why we are members of OSU, and our team take role of steering committee members in different projects. We are OGC members. We also hugely support open standards. I was before at OGC for 10 years. So that's why I like just solutions also so much. And USGIF that supports critical standards related to defense and geospatial intelligence. We have lead developers of GeoNode, GeoServer, MapStore, and GeoNetwork. Lead developers is core contributors worldwide. We have 23 staff members, 15 software engineers. I will share this. And today we're going to talk about is the new release, which is the new features. Those of you that are followers of MapStore or use MapStore, you will find that very useful. But if you're new, you will learn about MapStore and learn that this is a very, what I call sleek web GIS that allow to really merge data from distributed sources using open standards. You can share context also using open standards and create rich dynamic maps that you can embed multimedia images, HTML, and others. Also provides a powerful style editor, which is, I think, very unique set of characteristics compared to other GIS tools. And our speakers today will be Tobia and Lorenzo. So that's it for the introduction. If you want to contact us here, and this is our tweet handle. Now, how we do this is we are going to provide 40 minutes of the talk, about 35 minutes, and then we're going to leave 15-20 minutes for Q&A. So please write your questions. You can write them at any point, and we will answer them in the order that they are posted. Okay, that's all. Thank you. So Tobia, Lorenzo.
Hi. Thank you, Luis. Let me share my screen.
Perfect.
I hope you can see it.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Okay, fine. So thank you for having me, Luis, and thanks to all the attenders to join the webinar. I'm Lorenzo Natali. I'm going to show you the new features of the latest release of MapStore, and of course, as Luis said, I also introduce a little bit MapStore to you. So, first of all, What it is. MapStore is an open source product started by GeoSolutions in 2015, and you can see the demo site here. And the demo site has all the latest release interesting things available for testings. And you can even download a binary that where you can test even advanced feature dedicated to the administrators. But what it is itself, it's two or three things at the same time, but it's a framework. This is the main use we do of MapStore. And so you can build your application with this. So you can create a new MapStore project from it. There's an utility for that, and you can select the plugins you are interested to. We will see what plugins are, and the components you are interested to, and build your framework like with the pieces taken from the framework. So in this, you can use it to develop your custom application. You need to be a developer to use it in this way, or you have to ask someone to do it for you, for instance, GeoSolutions. Anyway, if you have someone that can work with ECMAScript, React.js, Redux, and so on, you can build your application and maintain it. And if you have this, you can also become a member of the MapStore family, because it's also an open source product, so you can develop and help to maintain it. The family is increasing, and you can also, other than contributing, of course, you can, if you are a developer and you are working, we are familiar with these technologies, you can send us your resume. First of all, so then, other than a framework, aside from this, MapStore is also a product. The product is a WebGIS application where you can that you can download from GitHub release. You can configure and install on your PC or on your server. The application provides all basics WebGIS tools that you can imagine. So, for instance, adding data for standard services, WMS, WFS, and so on, and exploring or analyzing this data, doing measures, there are tools dedicated for styling, and so on. In addition, MapStore has many advanced features that can integrate with your server, with security, with styling, and there is a big set of plugins you can use in MapStore. All the functionalities, as I said, are implemented by plugins. So there is a plugin for catalog. There is that allow you to add data to the map. There is a plugin for measure that allow you to measure the distances of the map or areas, and so on. All these functionalities are implemented for plugin. There is a plugin dedicated to widget that allow to add the small windows on top of the map with the charts or with some text and so on. There is a plugin called the TOC, Table of Contents, that allow you to browse the layers in the current map and enable, disable, or configure them. There is a plugin for search, plugin for home, plugin for login button, and so on. Also, all these buttons and all these tools are plugins that can be plugged and unplugged to MapStore. It's very customizable from this point of view. You can add or remove the functionality simply adding or removing plugins. In addition to plugins, MapStore allows also to save maps and share them with the users. So you can create your own maps and you can share them with the user group of your colleagues or your customers. So you can start adding layers from the catalog to the map and then save this map with this set of layer and set of widgets and other things, other cool things that are present, configure the backgrounds and so on, and share them with a user group made also only of the users coming from your customers, for instance, or a subgroup of your colleagues. Maps are not the only one possible type that you can share. MapStore provides also the possibility to share in the same way, so sharing with the users, with the user groups of colleagues or customers or single customer group, dedicated one. You can share also dashboards that are a mix of maps and charts with live data filtering and analysis coming from the server. And you can share this with the same possibilities that you can share with Map. And from this release, you can also share other kinds of contents like stories, GeoStories, and in some kind the contexts. So let's now that you know more or less, I know you have to try to know it at all, but now that you know more or less what MapStore is, let's have a quick overview of the main feature introduced in this release. First of all, this release has been released the 6th of July, and so less than a month ago. And it's the first version of the 2020.02.xx series. We use the first number of the version as with the current year. The release will have a couple of minor releases in the future during the year to apply bug fixes and increase more the stability of this stable release. The main features of this release are GeoStory, that is a kind of another kind of content like map and dashboards, where you can find you can find the way to create interactive stories combining maps, multimedia, text and images and videos and so on. So you can share them as the maps. Okay, you can publish them. There is a way to make them public, of course, as for the maps and for the dashboard, or you can send them to a restricted group of users. The second important feature is of this release is the application context. These are a special type of contents that managed mainly by the administrator that allow the administrator to create a map viewer with a custom subset of plugins. He can configure it only using the web interface. But before exploring these two big arguments in detail, let's see a little bit more the smaller changes of this release, so we can dedicate the rest of the webinar to the two main features. First of all, about the click filtering functionality. When you are browsing data from a vectorial layer in MapStore, you have the attribute table that shows one row for each feature in that vector layer. Above the table, you have some input boxes that allow to apply quick filters on the data. From this release, you are able to apply a quick filter you are able also to apply a spatial quick filter that allows you to click on the map and filter only the data that intersects the point clicked. That's a way that makes you able to get single features quickly, and that's particularly useful for editing. Another minor feature has been added to the measure plugin. Now you can create more than one measure at once on the map. The limit was 1 first before this release, and you can see not only the final length of the lines created on the maps or the perimeter of an area, but also the length of every single segment of the measure. About the import-export plugins, in this release, we added the possibility that the plugins allows to save and restore maps on your in a file on your PC. You can save it and you can upload it again to reload the map from a previous saved context. From this version, you can save and restore maps also in web map context that is a standard format that is useful if you want to import maps from different applications or if you want to export maps for them. Another minor but very important features of this release is the possibility to add layers from WFS or WM or TMS services. This means that now in the catalog, that is the plugin that allows to add layers on the map, provides two different types of sources to browse. One for the WFS, that allow you to add vector data to the map. Previously, MapStore used WFS only as a backing service for WMS in order to get information for the feature grid and browse data and edit the data, but the data on the map was provided by the WMS service. Now the WFS service is supported too. Another kind of service supported now is TMS. When you select TMS, you will be able to browse some TMS 1.0.0 services that is almost standard. It's not a standard, but is supported by GeoStory, for instance. And you can browse that services on the web, or you can browse some well-known services with that uses the same TMS convention. So a URL that address the files with X, epsilon, Z URL, or you can configure your own by inserting the URL template, selecting the custom provider, and you are able also to include subdomains to provide domain sharding that allow a speed increase of your application in tile loading, because it skips the limits provided by the browser about it. Another interesting feature is the possibility to pass from the identify tool that is opened by the clicking on the map directly to the edit mode of the feature grid. And in this way, this is a shortcut that is particularly useful for editing too. Last minor feature is about the possibility to configure in the table of contents that provides the list of layers and also shows the legend provided WMS. The possibility here in this release, there is a possibility to set width and height of the legend, and so increase the look and feel of the table of contents. Another minor update is the new plugin dedicated to the map browsing that allow you to browse maps and share them and setting the permission on them without passing on from the home page. But directly on the map viewer. So in this way, you don't need the home page, and this is particularly useful for custom application where you don't have an home page dedicated to the maps, but you don't want to give up the ability to share maps and with the users, for instance. Okay, now let's start with the application context. This is one of the main features. First of all, the application context, as I said, is a special type of content that administrator can create to share with the users. With this tool, the administrator is able to configure different maps, map viewer configuration inside the same MapStore installation. So you can have different configurations of the map viewer. Now in MapStore, you can have only one configuration with a custom set of plugins. So you can dedicate one instance one context to a particular use case, or another context to a particular use case, for instance, disabling all the plugins that you don't need, or adding your own plugins for that custom for that particular scope. To do this, the administrator can follow the wizard that helps to configure this from the MapStore UI on the web. First step, allow the administrator to configure the name that will be used as to create the unique URL of the contexts, and the window title that will be used as a title of the tab of the browser, web browser tab. So you will see it on the top of the browser title instead of the typical MapStore title. The second step allow to configure the base map for the context. So you can set the position of the map, the projection, and select all the backgrounds or all the layers or all the annotation you want to place on the map when you open the context, the clean context. You can even import maps if you want from an external file exported using the export tool. The step 3 is the most interesting one and allows to configure the set of plugins to include in the context. So you can move the items from this list on the left to this list on the right to include them and configure each of them. You can click on the button of the range buttons to configure them. Each plugin has a related link for the documentation. So here you can click on the link and check what configuration you can set up for it, which are this base configuration and how you can change them to configure the plugin on your needings, and you can even choose which of plugins will be initially present in the map viewer and which ones can be activated by the user. Clicking on this button, you can decide to demand to the user the possibility to enable the plugins if he wants to use it, or simply not seeing and having a better interface, as more clean interface. Another possibility is the possibility to install a plugin from the user interface. So you can simply upload a zip file containing the plugin. There is a tool in MapStore that allows to create plugins. We will increase it in the future. Anyway, you can start. This is a starting point. Anyway, right now we have the ability to upload the plugin and install it. Now the new plugin will be available in the list to be added to the context that you want. So you can develop your own plugins, install standard MapStore, and then add your own plugin without having to create the whole framework to build a whole application only to customize, to include a customized plugin. After you save this beautiful context with the plugins you like and your custom plugins dedicated to your customers, the last step, of course, is to make the context public or reserved to some restricted group of users. You can do it by using the share tools present in the UI, and you can use this link to share this context with the users. So you have, in this way, you have your custom viewers available for at a predefined URL. This is very useful if you want to host many WebGIS applications of the same installation of MapStore with different user scopes. Moreover, maps created within a context will reuse the same context when loaded, so you can use the same browsing tools of MapStore in the home page if you want, if you are using standard MapStore, and the maps created in that context will be opened in that context again. So also all the searching capabilities used for maps will automatically integrate with the contexts. And so you can load one map in a context, another map in another context, and so on. You can have multiple maps for each context, and this adds a lot of possibilities to match your use case. Another special tool This is one final note about the application context. The context manager provides also an additional plugin other than standard ones called map templates. This plugin will be available in a latest minor release. Now it's not available as a standard plugin. Anyway, it gives the possibility, and the possibility is given only from the UI of the context manager to save and load some templates that stores some subset of layers that the user can browse and use in their maps to add some groups of layers, predefined group of layers on the map. So for each context, you can select a subset of these templates that you saved on the server and make them available for that specific context. For instance, you upload 20 templates, and for one context, you get only the templates 1 and 2, and for the second context, you use another subset, and so on. In this way, the users are available also to have a set of predefined groups of layers, or as a starting point for their applications. Now let's talk about GeoStory. That is the most beautiful thing that we have in terms of having fun. Because it's very funny to use it, and it's very good looking. The result is very good looking. GeoStories are pages that you can share with MapStore that tells a story. The story, it's up to you. With this tool, you can create a page to share the results of your scientific research. You can tell about a trip around the world. You can use it to support as a support for a conference about, I don't know, the history of your country, or you can share it online to tell the story about your town or your family or whatever you want. You can decorate with this story with some text, some multimedia contents, and in interactive maps. And all this content will be presented in a scrolling layout that is very good looking. A story begins with when someone wants to create it. So to create it, a story, you can do as you do with other contents of MapStore. So using the new story button in the home page near the new map and new dashboard button. When you click on this button, you will see an empty story to start with. And you can insert a title and media to add it as background. And you can start adding from this plus button below the contents you want to the page. Clicking on it, you will see a menu that provides a different kind of sections you can add. You can add paragraphs, so some text, some rich text elements with links and formatted text. Titles or cover that are contents of this kind, titles or covers that can fill or not fill the window, and that allow you to separate visually the contents and media sections that gives you a special place for photos, for videos, and that explain in detail what you are telling about in your paragraphs, for instance. Moreover, you will find the possibility to add some special sections to create an immersive section where you can scroll content and see the background change while the contents scrolling on the foreground in a beautiful way. Or there are also some additional types that allow you to add some external contents from other sites, from external sites. Let's see all the tools that allow this magic. While you're editing your story, you will notice some buttons here and there. These are called action toolbars. You will find them near the backgrounds, near the titles, or near the contents in general, and they allow to from the user interface to beautify your page, your story, in an easy and intuitive way. For instance, for the title, you can configure the background. You can choose a media. A media can be whatever you want. It can be a video, can be an image, can be a map too. You can set up the background to fit the whole background, or stay or be reduced to a small part of the window, or cover the whole window. So there are many options to configure the size and the alignment of each tool, and also to customize the theme and the colors of each entry. And there is also the possibility to customize the theme of the story in general. And about the title overlay, you have many tools also for that. You can configure the size and alignment, and customize the theme to customize the colors, the background color, the transparency, and so on. Or of course, remove the section using this trash button is always present when you can remove something. For images, you can it's similar to title, cover, and so you can edit the media or configure the size, and moreover, you can even also show the caption, and this is the description of the media type that we will see later. And anyway, the possibility, what is important here is the possibility to add a caption, and also an attribution to the media contents. About the map, if you add the content that instead of an image is a map, you can configure it. And this is one of the most interesting WebGIS specific tools where we place the maximum attention. We can add the maps as any other media content. You can insert them in a story, starting from an existing map in MapStore or from an empty one, and you can customize them by setting the visibility of each layers, and reuse them for multiple times with some slight changes in the story. So you can create maps here inside or get them, and you can customize it as you want. For each map, you can decide to enable controls like the possibility to move the map or zoom in and out, and allow the user to click on the map and get results, get some information from the map, clicking from the point clicked in the format you choose. Videos are another cool media content you can use to tell your story. You can put them as background or in foreground. You can configure the autoplay, so you can scroll the story with the mouse wheel or with the fingers if you are using a mobile device. And you can see the video starting automatically. You can configure the video to enable or disable audio, or you can configure it to auto-repeat, so with the loop tool. You can add any video you want to your story that is available online, inserting the URL from a YouTube video, a Vimeo video, or whatever you want. For instance, MP4 or AVI files available online. And of course, you can describe all these beautiful maps, videos, images, and so on, with some paragraphs that really tells your story. You can edit all the text that you find in a story inline with an advanced WYSIWYG editor. What you see, WYSIWYG stands for what you see is what you get. So an interactive editor like a word processor that formats your text, your style, adds your stylings and add links and so on. Let's proceed. You can have even third-party contents in your story that are dedicated to the content type for it, where you can, there is a dedicated content type that you can use, you can add other than media and paragraphs to add external links, external sites, for instance, Wikipedia page or your custom application that shows some data, for instance. So you can add inside your story a small section that shows this so the user can learn more about the information you're talking about without leaving the page, for instance, for a wiki page. Or you can include any external resources you want as web pages, and they will be included as an iframe in the story. Maybe the most interesting section type of the story is the immersive section. When you enter in an immersive section as a user, you will see the background fixed in the context scrolling above it while you scroll the story. So the background will change accordingly to the content in foreground with a beautiful effect, and it can start with for instance an image. Then when you scroll and see other text and images on the foreground, it will become a video that explains something, and then again maybe the video starts automatically, and then it can become a map, an interactive map where the user can interact too and see the information about the things you are talking about. You can decide the alignment of the contents in foreground and background, so you can imagine many different layouts, combination of layouts and styles, and this increases a lot the power you have and the impact of the story you want to tell. You can choose, for instance, to have a full background here, then the contents scrolling here, or having the background aligned to the right, and so it looks like a bar scrolling on the right. You can even remove the background, the transparent background here, and having the text directly on this background. This is a trick that you can do to make it good looking, and so these immersive sections are very beautiful and very good looking, and that's it. For adding media to the background that are the main part of each immersive, but also of each story, if you want to tell stories with images, and you can use you can include all the media, include the maps, from the media editor tool that allow you to browse the media in the current story, or browse other remote catalog. For instance, in the case of the MapStore maps, you can browse MapStore maps and add them to the story. Each type of content has its own tool to edit the source and metadata of the specific media. Description, for instance, the description here is for caption. Alternative text here is for accessibility. And credits, it's an attribution that you can add to the map or to the media in general, that provides for instance, the credits of this image or this map. And you can easily switch from one type or another because they are created at the same time. So you can switch from a map to a video to an image very quickly. As usual, a special place is reserved to map contents for our in MapStore. The media editor has an inline editor, very similar to the standard viewer, that allow you to create a map you want to add to the story or customize existing one without leaving the page. So you don't have to create a new map in MapStore and then go back to the story and include it. You can do it directly from the page. When the story becomes big, you will need to reorganize content. You may need to reorganize contents or quickly search for them. For this reason, you will find a very useful side panel that is visible only in edit mode. So if you are creating a new story or editing an existing one, this toolbar, this side panel allows to quickly identify the sections present in the story. You can see the current visible section highlighted here, for instance, the one that is visible currently in the right part of the view is highlighted. You can click on the zoom button to scroll to one section or another. You can drag and drop sections up and down to reorganize your contents, so you can avoid to recreate them every time. You can reorganize if you forgot to tell, if you decide that something has to be said before something else, you can decide to drag and drop the contents up and down the story. You can, if the contents are too many, from this tool, you can also collapse the contents to have a more compact view of them, and and drag and drop them in an easier way. If there are many, drag and drop is enhanced by having a compact view instead of having all the previews and that are big boxes that are difficult to be moved in a small space. When you're near to publish your story, you can finalize it by adding a top toolbar to it, top toolbar like this. To do it, you can open the story settings, clicking on a gear button in the sidebar here, this gear button. And this allows to, here you can set up the title and the logo of the story that will be shown here, logo and title. The logo can be dropped from an image from your desktop inside the application. And you can set up a navigation bar menu, so you can select some sections from the story to be shown here. And the user will be able to scroll from one point to another point of the story by clicking on them. And then in the setting panels, the setting panel provides also some additional settings, like the possibility to set up the theme for the story. For the theme section, you can select the background and the text color to use as defaults. All the contents will inherit from them. So each story can have its own theme, so its own background color and its text color, and so you can base these colors on your brandings or your favorite ones. The tool provides also a readability check that notified the editor if the text in foreground is readable if used in the current color combination, and it suggests a more readable color one if it's not too much readable in this with this background. Anyway, all the colors and the contents of the story are customizable too. So you can, in addition to the general theme, you can decide to customize the background color of this title, or the background color of this in general background, and so on. So every section and every component can be anyway customized in style. So you can have even different style when you scroll the GeoStory if you want. The final step when your story is beautiful enough is to share it with the rest of the world. You can use it for you can use the dedicated tools as for the other contents. So you have to set up permissions, save it, and use the share tool from the menu and get the share get the share link, the direct link or QR code for mobile devices. That's it. Just a second. Now the presentation has some information about the ongoing work for MapStore. Yes.
Yeah, Lorenzo, thank you so much. Since we would like to dedicate some time for questions and answers, I'm going to proceed really quickly on showing to you what we are doing and what we are working on for the next major release. So let me share my screen. Okay, so let's scroll down so I can show you the ongoing work. So basically, first of all, we are doing interesting enhancement and improvement to the style editor tool. Now, in the current release, you are able to edit styles basically through that text area, okay, with validation controls. And now we are working on improving the UI and the functionalities of MapStore in order to provide to the user advanced styling capabilities by providing an advanced UI where the user can manage rules, different kind of rules, do classification of styles, and so on. Another interesting improvement is related to the annotation tool, mostly related to the UI. We are trying to make the UI basically more user-friendly. Okay, the functionalities will remain the same mostly, but we will just include some additional functionality to show and hide single annotations. But as you can see, the UI will be improved like this slide is showing, basically. With a more compact UI and additional capabilities with additional panels that allow to easily manage coordinates and styles for each single annotation. Then also the identify tool will be improved. We have completely reviewed the UI, making all layers available in a drop-down and ordered sorted like the table of content, the same order of the table of content. Okay. Then the functionality will remain the same basically, but we are working on that kind of improvement for the UI. Additional capabilities, really interesting additional capabilities for the next major release are related to GeoStory. So as you can see here, the possibility to connect a section to another one by including hyperlinks between between story sections, basically, and including also specific actions for this. And we are also working on including additional capabilities for the map inline editor by including location in order to customize basically pop-ups and markers in the map, include them in the map and customize the identify information information by including also hyperlinks to internal links to other story sections, basically. So stay tuned for this. So we will provide obviously additional information in future blog posts about this kind of functionalities. So I think that we can proceed with the questions.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tobia. Thank you, Lorenzo. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in order with the Q&A. In this Q&A, usually we answer very briefly, and if we see that it requires like more explanation, yes, as some participants said, it's better to use than the user group. So, and also if you put the question in the chat, please put it in the Q&A so we are not going to miss your question. Thank you. So I guess Lorenzo, Tobia, you can read. You have access to the questions, right? You can read them.
Yeah. I can see the chat. Yeah. I see that that there are already some questions there.
Or if you want, I can read it, and then we know which one are we talking about.
Can consume services in GeoJSON or vector tiles? I think you can answer for this, Lorenzo.
Can you hear me? I think the first is I'd like to configure a PSG 277. Did I make it wrong? Okay, I start from the first one.
Yes. Start
okay.
from that one.
Okay, I would like to configure the PSG 27700. It's an easy process. Here, I'm going to share my screen a little bit, just to show you. In the documentation, you can find some information about how to add the projection definition to the map, to the application. It's a configuration file inside MapStore.
You can provide the link in the chat.
Yes. Other than this, you can configure the CRS selector. That is one of the plugins that allow you to select the current CRS to add your projections. And with this configuration, we will be able to switch to that specific projection. Then, next, I would like to configure the geocoder to use our addressed database. Can this be done with MapStore? For example, using GeoPackage file. I don't know about GeoPackage. I don't think you can with GeoPackage file, but for sure you can do it with with AWS service. MapStore provides a special tool. You can find it in the user guide, and how to configure it. To configure some special services, you can include this configuration in the local config as you did for the previous questions, or you can configure them directly from the map using the. Let me find if I found it quickly. No, I cannot find it quickly anyway. In the search bar, you will, let me open the demo that it will be useful also for the question answers. The store.
Wait, so while you do that, I'm going to provide a
Yes.
comment. Yeah, we're not going to finish like sharp 12, so I think we're going to allow 10 more minutes. So for those participants that want to stick a little bit longer, we want to really have the opportunity for you to ask the questions and to get a good response. So we're not going to rush, but we're going to finish 10 minutes later.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Here from the search panel, you can configure it directly here. For instance, here there is already, in this map, there is already custom geocoding service registered using the WFS. Basically, this tool asks to the WFS service to a specific layer to browse the information, getting the searching on a specific attribute. And here in the second, there is a wizard to configure it. The first part you can configure the service, the layer, and the attributes. Then how to display results with these special syntax to show some information, and then some other configurations, and you can save it or of course update it if it already exists. And the result of this is that if you search, for instance, this is connected to the same layer we see on the map. So for instance, if I look for Arizona, I will see the results coming from that layer, and I can, of course, clicking on a result, I will see the feature highlighted, and I can zoom on that. I can mix this geocoding with the standard that is nominating one by checking or not checking this. So in this case, the results will be mixed from the WFS service and from nominating. So you can mix even multiple services in the geocoding bar. That's it. Okay. Hi. What would be the major difference between MapStore and TerraMap, for example, that also provide a user-specific context and views? I didn't personally have seen these tools in detail, so I don't know. Some of you, Luis or Tobia, can give more information about that.
No, personally not, but I think that this topic needs more time to be
Yes.
properly covered. Basically, I think.
Okay.
Anyway, in the future, also we could also include in our documentation something like a comparison between MapStore and other similar tools in order to make users and the community informed about that.
Great idea. Okay, next question. Hi, do you do hands-in-hands tutorial instead of slideshows? Is a leaflet library used in MapStore? Okay, first, yes, we of course provide some dedicated webinars or support in general. Ask for on the contact for it, and yes, leaflet is used. And one of the things that I couldn't explain in the small time is that MapStore is mapping library agnostic. What it means, we can use open layers or leaflet indifferently. Now I changed the URL here in the viewer, and now I'm using leaflet. This is a thing for the demo, of course. If you don't believe me, I can inspect the. You can try it and inspect the DOM to verify it.
I think you can proceed.
Yes, and it also uses Cesium at the same time, so you can switch to 3D. And now it is using Cesium.js. So it uses open layers as main. Leaflet is used mostly on mobile because it's smaller and more useful in a mobile use case. And of course, Cesium is used to show 3D maps. Next.
So sorry, one comment very fast. So I will provide a link where you can provide a request for more information about our training, where we can do the hand-in tutorial. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You can do it.
I will do it via the chat. Yes.
Okay. Thanks. Next. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you too to attend it. Thanks for the great presentation. I love this kind of comments. I love doing story maps. I like to try GeoStories to migrate to an open source app. It's always a good thing to migrate to open source, but this is my personal opinion. I can get the PowerPoint tutorial or the recording of this webinar. Yes, of course.
Yeah, I think that it will be shared with the community, right?
Yeah, we will share in the next days to everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. So I answered also this. Then, what is the cost of the usage of the platform? And could you send me this presentation and this recording? I don't know exactly. You mean the cost? For cost, you mean the needings for performance? I suppose it is. The MapStore is 99% on client, so everything runs mostly on the client side. So it's a small Java application as a product, so you can install. It doesn't have environment for memory. Usually GeoServer and so on has more requirements because they use really memory and they need them to make things fast and performant. But MapStore do everything on the client side, and the only thing that are managed on the server side are users and groups and resources. But there are only a couple of only a few tables on the database, and so
Yeah. MapStore basically doesn't require a lot of resources in the system. Basically, the backend is really small, and it is used by only to store and search capabilities for MapStore resources like dashboards, maps, and so on, and also to manage users and users permissions rules on MapStore contents, basically. So in order to ensure to have a stable environment and in order to make it scaling, basically, for what concern the MapStore, that yeah, it is a client-side application, entirely client-side application, as Lorenzo says. But anyway, you need to obviously properly tune your mapping service, your map service, basically. Okay, in order to improve performance on your maps, for example. So good tuning of GeoServer resources and GeoServer settings is suggested for this in order to improve the map rendering capabilities.
So a small comment, sorry, I think I sent a wrong email. So we did a COVID tracking map, which is a demo using MapStore to track COVID in the US. We put it in S3 optimized. I think we have a decent number of requests and we're paying less than $10 per month because this is in a bucket in Amazon. You don't need a virtual machine to do this. This is an example of how inexpensive this can be. Yeah, okay.
Thank you. And next question. Hi. One of the problems I have is to change the text in the footer. I have looked at localconfig.json. It will be possible to demonstrate this. This is a developer dedicated question. Yeah. You can find out good resources online and videos that explain how to develop in MapStore. Anyway, from the configuration point of view, you should be able to do this generally. Speaking, I reply the question more in general. Here, for each plugin, you can browse the documentation here from plugins and search for the footer. Some of the plugins are documented, some other not. For instance, footer plugin is one of the plugin dedicated to this demo, to the MapStore demo. So it contains dedicated resources of GeoSolutions. Is not a part of the main product if we are strict. Anyway, some configuration information are still present in the JS doc, so you can explore the code and see.
Yeah, basically we can customize this. We can configure this through the translations file. Basically.
Yes.
There are some properties that can be used in translations files in order to override the default footer content, basically.
Yes. For instance, here there is the home.footer description in translation file that can be configured, and for the logo you can pass an additional info in configuration. You can find this in the code. Yes.
We are working obviously also on improving our documentation of each for each release basically. So yeah, we are collecting some missing changes, some missing documentation that we will provide in the next release basically.
Okay. Next questions, are there any details step-by-step video tutorial available? Are WFS in MapStore can be protected? Okay, for the first question first, there are any detailed step-by-step video tutorial available for developers? There are some of them for some videos on our YouTube channel, and for user interface, for now you have to refer to the home page, to the user guide that is mainly a step-by-step tutorial itself that allow you to see each component of the application, and for each component you will see all the buttons in detail.
And anyway, it is a good catch in my opinion.
Yes.
We should also in the near future, and we have in mind to do that anyway. Honestly, to put online some specific tutorial for basically specific plugins or MapStore functionalities in order to also basically enrich the available documentation, online documentation.
Yes, great idea, and thank you for sharing with us. And the other question is about WFS can be protected. The WFS should be protected on GeoServer. There are dedicated plugins to protect data, and this is one of the part, I think, of the GeoServer dedicated courses. And there are some tools in MapStore that allow you to interact with the GeoServer security system, but this is an advanced, very advanced thing.
Yeah, we have documentation for this.
Yes, of course.
In the developer guide, there is a specific session that you can maybe show.
Yes.
That is related to the integration, to the user integration between MapStore and GeoServer, for example.
Yes.
So in that way, through the out key mechanism properly set in GeoServer, you are able to make GeoServer able to recognize the MapStore user, and so properly tune and configure authorization rules for your data in GeoServer accordingly, basically.
Yes. Thanks.
Yeah, anyway, you are right. There is an advanced configuration that requires some specific knowledge about the GeoServer, or about both MapStore and GeoServer systems. But anyway,
sorry,
yes.
Sorry, I'm going to do another time check. It's okay if we spend 10 minutes more. I mean, we want to answer really all the questions from everybody. So thank you.
Okay. Can we download the presentation? Yes, you can. It will be shared. Congrats. The application seems really great. Thank you. And I hope I didn't click it on the wrong button. Let me see if I skipped one of them. Okay, done. I have tried out the application context quite much last days. First of all, I like it very much. Thank you. And thanks for the great feature. I have two questions. I am saving the user session information only for maps with context planned. We will, I don't know exactly what it means. It will also be available for normal maps.
Maybe it is referring to the user session plugin.
Yes. Yes, you can configure the user session plugin to be only context only scoped or scoped on each map. So each map has its own context. There is one of the configuration that you can find, and you have to configure in local config because it's a general configuration. You will find all the information again within the application configuration entry in the developer's guide. Let me get it from the here. Configuration. I can, sorry, search.
But we are trying
Let me
to.
start. Yes, I'm trying to search. Okay, I start from here and can go back. Configuration file, application configuration. Here, session. There is a dedicated part of a user section. Allow the rules, additional. Yes, maybe the documentation is in the plugin, but it has to be added to the local config anyway. You can
Yeah,
find
I
more
think so.
information about on the specific plugin documentation. Feature editing plugin now available for in map with contexts. Not available. I think that it's available. Maybe
Yeah, it should be.
it should be. If there are some problems or you cannot, you are not able to configure it, please write it to the mailing list so we can answer you. One possible bug for maps and content when sharing map URL loads first time again login. Okay. Do you know to be about this?
I don't think so. It seems to work in our dev instance. So I don't know if it is probably a local issue that this guy is experiencing. But yeah, I just did a try now, and it seems working. Yeah.
Okay, so you
So
can
probably if you can send an email with more detail about this, we can obviously provide our support and an answer. Okay.
okay. So you can write us and we will answer. Can it configure to work with GeoJSON URL or vector tile data formats? There is an experimental part inside MapStore, not yet released officially. We are working on that.
Yeah, there is some experimental work with the vector tiles, not yet available to ready to be released, obviously, but we are working on this in order to provide also that kind of functionality. In terms of for what concerns the GeoJSON through GAN URL, not yet at the moment. It is not a feature of MapStore, but anyway, you can import using the import-export tool. You can import a GeoJSON file in a MapStore map if you want.
Great. Yes, right.
Yeah, formats supported by the import tool are KML, KMZ, shapefile, GeoJSON, and the web map context.
Yes.
It should be the entire list, if I remember correctly.
Anyway, they are listed here. They are listed here. If you open
exactly.
the map, yes. Okay, let me get the questions again. Hi, there is a working example showing the deployment of MapStore, GeoServer, and Postgres using Docker containers in a typical production environment. Not yes, somewhere. There are some users that use Docker this way, but I didn't personally use it.
We don't have a documentation, a detailed documentation for this.
Yes.
But anyway, we can consider on including something like this in our online documentation. Obviously, we have used the MapStore also in a using Docker basically, and the same for GeoServer and PostgreSQL. but no, at the moment, honestly, no, we don't have
Yes.
a detailed documentation for this.
Yes, we don't have. It's of course possible because we do it in some of custom projects, for instance, geography. Yes.
For our client, we already did some sorry some installation of this type basically. But anyway, yeah, we should consider on improving the online documentation by including also that kind of detailed information about that infrastructural possibility of deployment.
Okay.
No, but if you're interested, send us an email and maybe we can schedule a call and we can show you what we have done with some of our customers.
Yeah. These two, obviously.
Are there plans? Next question. Are there plans to implement SAML or OpenID protocol in the future? Tobia, there are some.
We don't have plans for this at the moment. We have considered this some time ago, but we didn't proceed with this for the moment until now. But anyway, the MapStore can be obviously improved, easily improved for this kind of purposes. We already did that. Did it for our clients in order by implementing basically custom authentication plugins and along with the related backend part, obviously. So MapStore can be easily improved for that kind of functionalities, basically. But no, there aren't plans at the moment for this.
So I want to pause here for a sec. There is a poll that I would like to do, but you can continue answering the questions. I'm just going to launch the poll. So please give us your feedback because this is very important for us to provide always better and better webinars. So I'm launching the poll right now. So please continue with the Q&A. Thank you.
Okay. For the other question about the roadmap, a roadmap for the moment can be checked in GitHub. We usually split our work and the functionalities implementation and bug fixes across different MapStore releases in using milestones in GitHub. So we organize each issues basically there using milestones.
Yes.
So for each milestones correspond a release, okay? And so you guys are able to look at the milestones definitions, the milestone list in GitHub in order to see what is included in the next MapStore releases. Okay, we usually provide also a brief description of what will be included in a milestone directly in the milestone description. Probably at the moment. We still need to update some next milestone for this, but anyway, usually we do that.
Okay, thanks. Next question. Of course, now I'm watching the pool and I cannot see anymore the chat. Let me recover it. Okay, I found it. Okay, so we answered this. Is it possible to choose a particular language, disable the language selector? And Bernard already responded. We can remove the unwanted languages in local config.json. Yes, and this is probably a question that has been already answered in the mailing list, so you can look at that. You can do it interacting with the local config file as well as usual. Thank you. For the introductory webinar. Thank you too. Hi, do you have a doc link of MapStore Django? Thank you. MapStore Django is for those who don't know, is a module for existing for GeoNode itself. We don't we created it to be general, but it's not yet too much general to be included in any Django installation. For the moment, only with it's compatible only with GeoNode. And GeoNode uses MapStore as a framework, so it uses only the viewer and doesn't use all the model. It's its own, and so all the documentation that we have now, if you want to contribute to the power of that model to make it general, you can find it on the GeoNode documentation. And you can find it here, doc.geonode.org.
Yeah, anyway, we are actively working on that integration between MapStore and GeoNode,
yes.
And we will provide really interesting news in the next months for this.
Yes. Anyway, we can ask also us to implement them, of course, as usual.
Anyway,
yes.
let's check if we can share the latest documentation that we did for the MapStore GeoNode integration. Let's see which is the status of this and how we can contribute it back to the community. Basically, I think that it is a good point to decide for the next month.
Okay, the next question is very similar. How does GeoNode integrate in MapStore? GeoNode is used only the client part is used. All the backend, all the sharing tools are not used. We have plans to integrate them more, and it is integrated basically with two models. One is the one that I talked about before, the Django MapStore module, and another module is dedicated to the specific GeoNode client that provides the adapter between the model of GeoNode and the model of MapStore. Including these two models in GeoNode installation, we include MapStore as a client. More details are in documentation, of course. This is
and it's true to say that the latest version of GeoNode, the default client is MapStore, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, I will in the next days. Okay, for the mailing list. Thank you very much. Thank you too. And if we wanted to contribute to the project, are there any tags on GitHub which can tell us which are the tickets we could start? Yes, there are, and there is a label on MapStore called Good First Issue, if I remember well.
Good first issue. Yes.
You can find it here.
There are also the contributing rules are also reported in the README file. So in order to contribute, you are obviously free and welcome to contribute with the to MapStore in general by following the contributing rules provided in the README. So that means pull requests and so on. Yes. We usually do a lot of QA for the pull request review and so on. So it is a good point to share also with the community.
Okay. Next question, how can we have the recording? Of course, we will share it later. And hi, I'm Oscar Hi, Oscar. And it's possible to integrate GeoNode. Yes, MapStore is already integrated as a default viewer of GeoNode from, if I remember well, the past year.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so I think we did it. No more questions. We're finished. Okay.
Good. I was going to say, Oscar,
grazie.
gracias. Gracias, Oscar. No, thank you all for attending and standing longer with us. I think it was a good discussion and worth to be extended. Thank you, Lorenzo. Tobia, thank you very much, and hope to see some of you at the next webinar. Have a nice, healthy week.
Okay, thank you too, and thank you
You.
for having us. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.